You've talked about it a little bit, but I'm really curious how you actually executed it. These layers of shading that are on the characters, and there's a shadow layer and a light layer. And it really, I mean, I know that it's not a perfect effect, but I mean, it works pretty darn well to give them some dimensionality and definitely makes them stand out from the background. So how did you do that?
Yeah, so we've taken the character comp and we've just duplicated it. So all we've done is, so here's the shadow layer. If I sort of put it back where it was, all I've done is I've alpha inverted it. So it's not keying itself through itself. So as opposed to using it as itself as an alpha matte, it's using the inverse of that. So it's going to show up where the layer in front is not. So what I'm doing then is slightly moving that layer in front so that now if I turn it all off, you can kind of see the edges of Jonny where the layer in front isn't. So if I turn off the effects on that, then you can just kind of see it's one layer just showing beneath where the other one was. So if I put it over the top and just kind of move it gently again, that's where he is. So I'm going to use that I'm going to overlay that as a slightly darker color. So here I'm going to use this kind of purple, and it's just going to make these elements a little bit bluer. Let me just move this across. There we go. So we've got, adds a little bit of, it's still really vibrant and like, dense coloring and kind of classic, 80s stuff, but it affects different colors in different ways. So like the blues will get very blue, but the kind of the colors on his jersey won't be affected too much, just because it's an overlay rather than like a multiply. So I've kind of created a few things here, but ultimately that's kind of what it's doing. It's sort of giving this this effect. Now, in order to kind of give that itself a little bit of that dithered effect, I've scattered the thing that we're keying the matte through. So this is what we're keying, this is what we're inverse keying it through. And I've just applied this scatter so that when we turn that off, you see how he's kind of keyed through in this interesting way. So I'll just turn those two layers on again, and then you can see that it sort of, grades out. And that's really sort of what's interacting with the, if I show you, if I turn the background layer off, that's sort of already kind of creating that interesting dithering. And then similarly, other way around, this is just a little bit of an added layer. And I've tried a few different types here, but it's just to kind of give him the hint of like sunlight hitting his face. And you can see I've tried like using a bit of pink, bit of neon pink on him there. And I think in the end gone with this yellow, just because it obviously picks him out from the background. So if I put the background back in there, yeah, just when he's pink, it's just not quite so clear. So a little bit of yellow, and these sort of foreground elements, these leading elements have a bit more sort of definition to them. So, and again, when we take him back into this thing, it's just sort of a bit clearer. You can kind of see these bits they really stand out, and especially once he's moving, kind of has more of a, he feels pulled out from the background, both sort of with the shadow and with the highlight.
That's really great. And I think a trick like that you could use on anything, when you just have circles moving around, you can do this and get a lot of control over like how dimensional they feel. I noticed, and I'm wondering if this is just an artifact of the plugin or something, but the clouds in the background have a dithering effect. They have this lighting effect on them too, but it feels like it's moving a little bit. And at times it almost feels like the scattered effect is kind of animating. So I wasn't sure if that was, you actually keyframed it so there was some noise to it, or if it was just an artifact.
So the clouds basically have the same effect on again, same kind of thing. So it's one cloud. There are ways you can use the scatter effect, and there is an animated checkbox for if you want that to kind of effectively have some noise run through it. So you've got scatter here, you've got control of the amount of scatter, the direction of it, and then you've got randomize the frame. So that'll like add that, like you say, effect. What I would say, it's kind of useful in some instances. It can be quite distracting in others. When you've got very kind of close colors like you've got with this blue and the white highlight, I think it's not so noticeable, and it just kind of, it feels ambient. But if you kind of have it sometimes on some of the other elements in the scene, it can be quite distracting.